Hey guys, welcome back to the RY show. I'm Li Ying. It's summer now, but we're still waiting out COVID-19. So we keep talking to people about their life in the midst of COVID-19. Today we're super excited to have Ian Badenhorst joining us in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Ian.
Okay.
Tell us what you do.
What do you mean?
I mean, like, if I know you in person, it feels like you're doing like 100 different things. What do you do as a living?
It's a rude question. It's none of your business. I work in entertainment in Shanghai.
Yeah.
My primary job that I have a real visa for is for a big company, a food and beverage company, and I'm their entertainment manager, and I help them with their marketing. And mostly I look after their entertainment. So they're musicians, they're DJs. We've got video installations in some of our stores. I'm in charge of designing and curating those video installations and doing all the sound system playlists, everything in all the different restaurants. And every time there's like functions and events, I oversee their events.
Okay, all right.
So generally, I'm not on site. Like I would do troubleshooting. So if my bands and everything are in place, all I need to do is manage their schedules, recruit new musicians, and then if something happens, I'll fix it. And most of the time I can fix it remotely from my computer or my phone with software. So that's what gives me all this time to be here at comedy. We're at a comedy venue right now. And free time to do a lot of things like travel. As long as I've got an internet connection, I can fix most things remotely.
All right.
That's what I do. And right now, entertainment is shut down, so I'm not doing anything.
I see. And then, when do you think gonna go back to work again?
Kind of just started. We phasing in musicians again. And then, it's like last year they gave me a project to do a whole bunch of new videos. And then we closed. And they reduced our salaries. And I was like, well, when you pay me again, because it's not essential, like to make the videos and, you know, like, so I've been doing them really slowly, but I haven't installed them yet. So now that I got the last of my January money yesterday. So we've been getting the skeleton basic pay, and then yesterday they paid us for the rest of our January salary. So things are looking up, which means this month I'll be back in full swing.
So your salary was delayed because of COVID-19?
No, on the end of January, they paid us half our salary. And they were like, as soon as this is over. It was like an emergency measure. But we lost 2 restaurants. So there were 9 restaurants in the company and 2 closed. So I'm okay with getting half a salary and still having a job.
That's cool. And then what have you been doing since?
I've been doing comedy nonstop. I've always been involved in comedy since I moved to China, which was 14 and a half years ago. And started just the bar I was managing would have guest comedians come in, like a touring group called the Punchline Comedy Club. And then when I left that company, I started hanging out with Paulie, who owns the Shanghai Comedy Club at the time, a bar called Masse. And I would hang out with him because I knew him from DJing when I moved here, not through comedy. Just when I left that company, I would hang out around comedy because I liked it. And then, yeah, I just been organizing open mics. I always ran the Monday one, and I just, when nothing was happening and everyone left town, I just picked up the slack. Because I know so many bar owners, I just connected with them and asked if they wanted to do comedy in their open mic comedy. So that's what I've been doing.
And you did like a comedy online for a while, right?
No, I tried it and no one wanted to do it.
So there was not a single mic?
No,
that happened
no.
Zoom?
We did one Zoom meeting that was just me talking. Everyone else just sat there and I spoke over them. It was weird. We did an attempted live hybrid here where we had a projector with the comedians from overseas in the room playing live on the speakers, and then No one came to that. They didn't want to do that. No one here wanted to do that. And I don't blame them. Because we don't need to do Zoom mics. We only had 1 month off ready of bars closed. So the end of March, we started open mics again with just the comics. Like no public, with just 8 of us. And then now it's back up to 20. So, yeah, there wasn't much change here.
It happened too soon, too fast, and it finished pretty fast.
Were you here?
No, I was not here. I was away for like
'Cause,
almost 2 months.
I remember music shut down, live music in bars shut down on the 24th of January. And my boss, who was here during SARS, he had been running his company since SARS, he called it. He said, May 1st, we'll go back. Like, he was like, he's like, just tell the band we're done till May. It's like April maybe, but definitely May 1st. And we started April 30th.
Okay, that's great.
So the SARS model kind of mapped over this one in terms of control, and obviously the numbers are different. But it didn't seem, it's just rough, because what I also do is book bands for other venues. So like it's sort of supplement income. Where actually the other venues are shareholders of the company that I work for. So they were like, oh, we need a band in this place. So I was like, okay, I'll recruit people for them too. So I was actually starting to build up a really cool year, and then just shut down. So all the 2 new venues I got were closed. And people are asking me now about when we're going back, but we don't know. Unfortunately. That's the usual.
Yeah. And as far as I know, your wife's a nurse. So was she in the front line?
No, she wasn't. My wife, funnily enough, she used to work in the highly infectious hospital in Shanghai for a long time. And when we met, she was like a night shift. I was a DJ and nightclub manager. So we met 5 years ago. And then I was working at night. She was working night shift. So when we started dating, it was fine, because she would be 3 days on, 2 days off. And then I would have 2 days off a week. But all my days were free anyway, because I was only working at night. And now, as soon as we started dating, she was like, I'm getting a regular job, normal life. You know what women are like. They just quit drinking, everything. And then all of a sudden, my lifestyle was a problem.
Oh, okay.
Like, I can't change the nightclub hours. She just got a new job. So, she would always complain about me smelling like beer and alcohol and cigarettes.
And
but I never ever complained about her smelling like the diseases she worked with. Because they don't have a smell.
Because you have a bad breath.
But it's just worse. Like, what she comes home with from work is way worse than smelling like cigarettes. I never complained. But she works for a private clinic, which was not allowed to open during the pandemic. It was non-essential.
Okay.
So their clinic was, they mostly do like the health tests that you get for visas and stuff. So she was lucky. She wanted to go to Wuhan.
As a volunteer.
Yeah, if you went, like, your career's sorted.
Oh, okay.
It's like being in the military and getting a bravery medal.
Oh, I see.
Like, your status as a healthcare worker just is like... And I was like, no. Like, fuck. Like, if you don't have to go, then you don't need to go. But she was considering it. But fortunately, I managed to convince her not to. Sorry, China. But yeah, I'm not going to give up my wife that easy. And then now, because she works for a Singapore company, they want helpers to go to Singapore now. Which I was also like, no. Like, Singapore's not the best place to work as a migrant worker. I've heard. They don't treat people very well there. Sorry, Singapore. Not sorry. And then also America, ironically, was offering visas to healthcare workers.
Okay.
For like $100 an hour. And like 70-hour weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, that sounds interesting. And I was like, get out of your mind. Because America's not equipped like China is.
Mm-hmm.
I think China was pretty well equipped. She had no fear about it. She was like...
Really? Wow.
Well, she worked in the... Like, she had loads of friends. She has friends that had loads that died of AIDS. And, like, she worked with them. It wasn't her fault. Like, she just made them comfortable. Anyway, so as far as that's concerned, she keeps talking about going to some frontline area for the money, and I'm like...
For the money or for the honor? I think she has this...
China was the honor thing, but that's over.
All right.
And then, like, the rest of the places that are offering money, it's like... It's only because I'm not earning a salary right now, a full salary.
You married the right woman.
And I was like, yeah, it's like... This was the funny thing, is that last year I kind of quit 80% of my job. Because I was working, like, full-time doing marketing stuff. And I wanted to get out of being in the bars. And so I basically took a cut, like half a pay cut. And then I was just paying rent from my salary from work. And because I quit drinking and I quit smoking, and I was like, I need to quit the lifestyle. So to exchange the freedom that I have to do everything remotely, I took like a really big pay cut, and I was living on savings. Like just paying my rent and then like living on savings for like 9 months. And then in November I started ramping up the work again, and then all that work disappeared. So I'd been already living on savings for a year.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, fuck, this sucks. So I'm okay till June. And I was like, June's fine, because they said May we'll start back. So in June I'll get my May salary back up. So, but it was like really cutting it fine.
It's tough. We're all living on...
Because everybody should take 6 months off their job. I highly recommend it. Like if you can save money and then like just take a break and decide what you want to do. So I spent 9 months just caring about comedy, and now if this hadn't happened, we would have actually set up our company better to do comedy tours. But it's not happening this year. So.
Yeah. So you had a big plan for this year prior to the virus.
we started a company in 2018, and it was like an offshoot of we made our own company to do big international acts, and we brought out Theo Von, and we had Joe DeRosa, and we had Neil Brennan, and we were going to start ramping that up. Try to bring one comic out every 2 or 3 months, like a big event. And that's just not happening. Like they kind of canceled visas for international comedians in July last year until November, and then November came, and then after November it was done. So our company is also we have a partner in our company who actually founded it. His brother is a neuroscientist, and he does TMS, which is transcranial magnetic stimulation.
All right.
Right. It's a non-invasive brain treatment that treats depression, Alzheimer's, and Neil Brennan has done it before, and we asked him if he'd like to try this new software that Brian's brother made. So Neil Brennan came out to Shenzhen for the treatment, and then he's recommending to other comedians that have depression to come out and do the treatment. So that was going to be like this tour cycle where all these crazy comics, but famous, would come for treatment in Shenzhen and do it's like a week of treatment. And then while they were here, do like 3 or 4 cities. And Neil Brennan did it, and then that kind of fell apart. But we're working on a documentary. So the documentary series is about TMS.
Okay.
And we're not sure who the centerpiece of the documentary will be. It'll probably be him. The plan was to do a tour where people come for treatment, we follow them doing the treatment, and then follow them doing comedy after the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not happening.
Mm.
So the plan is to shoot it in LA, just all the comics there, and then do one documentary. We're going to do a documentary series because all the hospitals in the world that have this software, it's a special software that makes the treatment's already there. The software makes it better, like it's more accurate. So we were going to just go around the world to all the hospitals that do that, and then the comedians could choose a destination. And we'd go there, do the treatment, do a show in each country. Mm-hmm. That's not happening. So we're probably going to have to just do it in 1 hour documentary, or hour and a half, and then shoot it in LA. Mm-hmm. And we're still working on that. So the documentary treatment is done, but we don't have volunteer comics to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we have a long list of candidates, but no one's doing comedy right now.
Oh, okay.
And that kind of treatment is elective, it's not essential. So you can't go to a hospital to do it. So our documentary is on hold, but I'm pretty excited about that because we started doing it already.
So what do you think the comedy scene will be like in Shanghai this year?
It's going to be what it is now. It's just going to be private events and open mics and local tours. I think our comics will go to like all the other cities: Beijing, Chengdu, Chongqing, Wuhan, Xiamen, Shenzhen. Where else has comedy? Wuxi has a little scene starting, and Ningbo we can do some stuff, and Hangzhou, and Suzhou is the other one. So that's enough for people to cycle through. What we're hoping is that, like, I want to get all of the cities to line up. So we take 2 strong comics, like headliner level or feature level comics, and you tour them together. And we contact all the rooms in China, and then we send them on a tour. So we can line it up so that every weekend they go from, so there's 52 weeks in the year. That means, and we got 25 comics, right? Let's say. So we just send them on a train. So it's like you start in Beijing, then you go to Wuhan, then you go to, and then that's this week, and then the next week 2 more, and the next week 2 more, and the next week 2 more. So instead of just one comic doing one show and then waiting 6 months, we send them on a lap around China, and then you can run your 1 hour, 9 weeks in a row. That would make us stronger comics. But right now we're just making our own calls, making our own way, waiting for someone to like call us in. But if we can coordinate all the rooms, then we can actually make the comics stronger by letting them do weekends every weekend. So, and then them as well. So Beijing sends. So it's just like a lap that goes round and round. That would be my dream, to get everyone to work together like that.
Okay. What's your observation of the comedy culture in China? Because you've been,
What do you mean by in China? English comedy?
Yes, stand up. I mean, like you've been like as you said, you started following stand up like 14 years ago since you moved here, and then you started. You mean doing, and then generally speaking.
Well, there's the China. I don't know. I haven't done comedy in Shenzhen or Beijing. I've only toured with Shanghai Comedy Club, Shanghai Comedy Bunker, and with Theo Von, which was our tour, and Joe DeRosa, which was our tour. But when I was putting on shows at my work, that was only coming into Shanghai, and that was not the Shanghai scene. The Kung Fu comedy guys who started in Suzhou like the Turner's Spark started local open mic comedy. And then in Shanghai at Paulie's original Massey, Kung Fu Comedy was there. I was never part of that original scene because I was working every day at the club. When I left my old job, I would hang out with... I couldn't ever go to the Kung Fu Comedy venue because Wednesday nights was my day off. So I could never go... So I never actually built any relationship with those people at all. So by the time I left my job and went to Shanghai Comedy Club, they had already split. So I don't really know anything about their world, and I was never part of it. But I was never not part of it. I just... Wednesday was my only day off, and I wasn't going to go to comedy on that night. I would now. You know, now I wouldn't miss any mic, but back then, like, Sunday was like sacred to me, and then when Sunday I did nothing, and then Wednesday night was like I had meetings in the afternoon, and then I have Wednesday like a half day, so I wasn't interested in going out on Wednesdays, and then the scene kind of divided, but now that's sort of none of those clubs exist anymore. No. So what I try to create was like a completely neutral space where I don't care about those. Obviously, they had some vibe between them, but I don't care about that shit. Like, I did tour a lot with Shanghai Comedy Club with Barney because, well, he's a friend of mine. He worked with me at my old venue, not in comedy, but just we worked together, and because I do technical stuff, installation, sound, like I was always a valuable person to have on any tour because if there was sound problems, I'd fix it. So we'd go around China, and the bars would be shitty bars that would have us, and we'd have to turn any bar venue into a comedy room as best we could. And Ian gets stage time because Ian can fix all that shit. So I'm actually making a YouTube channel about how to turn any bar into a comedy space.
Do you want to promote that?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Find me. I'm busy doing it now. So all the rooms that we go into, I film. So I have like boxes of stuff that you can buy. Because that's all I did. It's like I used to just go around everywhere we went. It's like you get a room and you'd look at it and you'd be like, oh, it's missing a spotlight, or the microphone sucks, or there's echo because they do karaoke here, but it's not for talking. Okay. So the channel is just how to fix those things. Because when you start comedy, they always say, start your own room. If you want stage time, start your own thing. And then you can book yourself and you can book others, and then you can, but no one tells you how. So people start these rooms and then the sound sucks and it's not organized and everyone hates open mics. So I'm just making a channel which is like, I'm just going to tell you what I know. Like I've been doing setups for 10 years. And I'm not going to show you anything professional. You don't need to be pro. It's a microphone. But it's nice to have music between comics and how to organize an open mic that people enjoy. I think people enjoy my Monday mic.
A lot.
Yeah, it's like I don't have all that clicky bullshit. And, yeah, so that was my kind of pet project, and I was going to release that when I thought COVID-19 was just a China problem. I'd be like, okay, I'm locked in here. I'm going to do all this stuff as a gift to the comedy community. And then they all got locked in. So now there's no use for my video at all. Like I could release it, but then everyone will be like, this information is useless because we can't. I can do how to set up a Zoom mic, but those already exist. So I'm going to release it when comedy opens up. There's going to be a starvation point where everyone's hungry for comedy. And I'll release my video series just as things start to open up, and then hopefully people will be like, I'm going to start my own night because everyone's going out. Also, the community will spread out. So like you can't put 10 people in one room, like 10 comics in one room, and have a packed out comedy club. it might be worth it to have comedy in 10 bars with less people in it, like we do here. So maybe open a room with 20 people in the room. Then you need 10 comedy rooms in your town, just so that you get the same amount of comedians can do the same amount of stage time. So hopefully, I'm not trying to make money out of it. Although I am selling like some ebooks.
Like on what?
Oh, just like the installation guides. So like the videos will speak about what equipment to buy, what you need, like how to set everything up. But there's loads of sound engineering tutorials. But I just want to do something basic for people who want to do comedy. Did you ever do the all girls mic show?
Not yet.
Yeah,
on
so
May 30th we're doing one, right? Yeah, on May 30th.
So yeah, that's my birthday, whatever.
It's my birthday.
Okay, whatever.
Seriously.
No, mine's May 29th.
Mine's May 30th. I'm not
Okay.
making this up.
But anyway, I went to the one at Cotton's, and they were just given a speaker, and the effects were on. It was just a speaker on the table. You don't need much more than that. But they just didn't check for certain things. So it was like, it was okay, but it wasn't good. And it's like, it's just checklists. They're like, these are the things you need to check for, and how you can take a shitty thing and make it like as good as possible. You don't need to learn, you don't need to be a sound engineer to do it.
Yeah.
So that was my, what do I do to get out of, like, I can't do comedy. Yeah, but also it's like, it was a mission, because I had to set up, we had our company account, and I set up PayPal, China PayPal, which is crazy. Like, if you want to take money from overseas, PayPal doesn't work if you live in China.
Yeah, I know.
So you have to use Alipay.
Yeah.
So only out of the country people can pay into your PayPal account.
Exactly.
And it costs $35 to change, to withdraw money from PayPal into your bank. So I was like, I'm just going to set up a Hong Kong account. So, but yeah, like, so we're going to, like, I made the websites, I made all this, everything is done. And we just put it on hold until comedy opens up. And then, so we've got little downloads and instructional videos and like a whole series of stuff that I'm editing right now.
All right, so there was like 1 month you didn't do comedy. Was it 1 month?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I was writing.
Okay, that was good. Okay, so you got the time to write a lot of new jokes?
I downloaded all the master classes and I watched them, and I don't like none of the comedy ones. I don't think it's worth it. I watched all the acting ones.
Okay.
Like Kevin Spacey's a really good one,
All right.
especially if you like, the shit he did. Yeah, I had to get past that because the class is really good. And the writing ones, like Malcolm Gladwell, I can't remember the other woman's name. She wrote Handmaid's Tale. That woman. David Sedaris.
Okay.
I think we spoke about him yesterday.
Yeah, I think so.
Was I talking to you about Woody Allen?
Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
yeah. So David Sedaris, the essay writer. So his all the writing masterclasses are cool. And then the acting ones are also good because like we don't really perform like actors here.
Yeah.
So I watched all of those, and then I just sort of started rewriting. I film every single set. I considered making an album, like taking all my recordings and editing them together into a 40-minute, because I've got about 2 hours of recordings of all different material that I could have put into a 40-minute set without giving away my set, like just all the dumb jokes, small jokes. And I started doing that, and I just didn't like the idea of editing laughs. Not adding them, but it was like, if I'm going to put like a recording from this room and a recording from Cage's room and a recording, then I had to start EQing the audio, and it felt weird. like bumping the laughter up
Yeah.
so that it sounded like it was the same audience.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't artificially put laughter onto the track, but where there was a laugh, I could take the audio from another audience. If you've heard Darren laugh. So Darren's laugh is like a signature. So you can't have him laugh at a joke in the beginning of a compilation and then he's gone.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't that weirdo in the beginning laugh at this? So I had to sort of take an audience signature and paste it over all the laughs. And it started to sound good, but I just couldn't bring myself to making what felt like a fake laugh track.
Oh.
But it was nice to get all that material and put it in an order and say, okay, that's an act. Because then I could just listen to it when I'm not performing and be like, oh, these are the jokes. So I was going to do that, and then I did it. But rewriting jokes was awesome. Like, it's just, you always mean to get around to it, but you never do. So that was one of the things I did. And then mostly we just watched YouTube. I mean, like, what do you do during that?
I was not around, so I was lucky.
Yeah, well, what do you mean? What does that mean? Not around?
I was not I was not in Shanghai. Yeah. So I was not like indoors. But I was working online. So that was. So did you follow the news, or have you been following the news on COVID-19 around the world?
I have every blocker you can get for social media. So anytime anything trends on Twitter, or I block it.
Oh.
So like if I can see something's happening, like or about to happen, I'll just switch everything off. So my Facebook won't show it, my Twitter won't show it, my YouTube won't show it, and then I just read like Reuters and the Associated Press. I don't read anything else. Like, I'm not interested in anything else. I don't need to see the bullshit. Like, I just once a month I'll turn on my China Daily app and I'll just read the China Daily, like what I don't even know who writes that. And then I read a little bit of like the local magazines. And then I watch the scientific data.
Okay.
So I was on the Johns Hopkins, like the GIS, like, you know those websites that don't have a word in it? It's just letters. And it stands for something, and the last two S's are scientific study. So it's like GISS.org. I don't even read .edu websites. It's got to be a .org. And then I found like a YouTube channel which was just a doctor explaining what it was. And I watched that, and then I watched Reuters. Is that how you pronounce it? Reuters, Reuters.
I don't know.
So I watched that, that's like one of those websites that other websites use for reference. You know, it's like Associated Press. It's just journalists that report, and they don't write opinions. And I just watch those, and yeah, everything's blocked. And then like once a week, I'll click on something like a dessert, and I'll watch some trash about it. And the occasional, so like my Chrome browser has the filters on it, and if I open Facebook on my phone or on Safari, then it's like, what is that? It's like a different Facebook. But I can show you like what I block on mine. So it's like a massive list. Like every politician, every buzzword. Can't even, if I type quarantine in YouTube, like it's this thing that it doesn't block the video, it just covers it and it says blocked. And then if you click on the video, it opens it, it just says blocked, and then it goes back to. I'm worse than China when it comes to blocking internet stuff.
So, how long have you been doing this?
Facebook, I started blocking ages ago because I don't want to hear my friends' political opinions.
Okay.
Politics is like, the whole point is you go in the booth and you mark your opinion. You don't show anyone, and then you fuck off. You know, like, I don't want to know. I love my friends. Like, what we heard, let's not say his name, but what we heard yesterday was crazy shit. And it's true. It's like people are getting information from user-generated internet is like, it's mental. So I don't watch anything, and I'm happy not to. It's like, there's enough news. I don't have a guilty pleasure. Who's your favorite crazy person?
Like real person?
Yeah, like talking head. Like, who's your...
I'm not gonna say it.
What I have heard is people say that the internet leans a certain way, and I've found that it doesn't. I don't know who keeps saying that, and I'm not sure, because we're using VPNs from America. So like when Facebook's playing videos, it plays left, right, you know what I mean? It's not, seems balanced. It's all crazy shit, but it doesn't seem like it's all one direction. So news-wise, there's like one newspaper in South Africa I read, and I read our local newspaper. So like literally it's called the Berea Mail. Like that's the suburb that my parents live in. So it's like someone was murdered on this street. You know what I mean? Like I know that street. It's not like general news. And then like the Mail and Guardian South African website for general news. And then the international ones. I don't read anything else.
Do you think filtering the information you get from the internet has an impact on you?
No, the point is to not have an impact on me.
But not watching it, I mean, how does like not watching it feel?
That's like saying, how does it feel to not do heroin? Like, I don't know. I don't do it.
But like you did it before. I mean, like it's so...
Dude, it sucks. Like Twitter, you can't block Twitter. You can mute words. But I had like I made some YouTube accounts, Twitter accounts.
Okay.
One of them is called A Dead Person, right? And it's just a black profile, and it's like Weekend at Bernie's is my favorite movie. Death at a Funeral is my favorite movie. Like, it's just a black picture, like just darkness, and it says my view this morning. Just, I'm a dead person, you know, like. And then I follow people, so they get a thing that says you're being followed by a dead person. It's just a joke for me. So I follow all these people that I don't like, almost as a troll thing, and their tweets come to my email inbox, because I got like 6 email accounts, like one for each account. So my dead person account gets like Donald Trump's tweets, or you know what I mean. So then I'm like, it comes to my email thing, and then I'm like, oh, Trevor Noah, whatever. So yeah, I like the dead guy. I mean, a lot of people get mad at him because they're like, stop following me, and I'm like, you can't run away. Like, it's like, death is coming. So I like him, and then I have another one called Rant Jemima, which is like an angry, sassy black woman, and I follow all like. All the people that yell and whatever, like those black Twitter. It's my secret black Twitter account. Those were all like drunk ideas when I was still drinking, so I don't really use them. So I get those tweets sometimes in my email, but I don't go on Twitter. It's like I only see those notifications. I've turned some of them off, except for the dead person. I like him, but when you go on Twitter, it's like. In 2 seconds, you're like, oh, this is why I don't go on Twitter. It's crazy. People are just talking crazy shit. And the fake tweets are even worse. Because it's like you can see they're not real. But people don't see that they're not real. You know, like the screenshots, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this person tweeted this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, there's 300 characters in
Yeah.
that fake tweet.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Twitter doesn't let you write that much. It's like, why? So, I can't. And people who take pictures of messages
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to. No, the platform is 140 characters. Say it in that or less. Like, don't send me a picture of what you wrote. Like, can't do Twitter. There was a TV show called At Midnight before.
Mhm.
Did you ever watch it?
No.
Chris Hardwick. At Midnight was like a social media interactive thing where they would have this thing called hashtag wars.
Okay.
And then they would post the hashtag for comedy writers.
Mm-hmm.
So they like wrote a movie by adding this word or take a word away and destroy a book title. So you'd write like 50 jokes. So as they would post those hashtags, then it's like a writing exercise. And then they'd feature your writing, like the best hashtag would go on the show. That was the last time I used Twitter and enjoyed it.
I see.
It's Instagram, I just post 1-minute clips, but
Mm.
I've kind of given up on being a professional comedian. So, no, I live here.
Mm.
I'm from Africa, so America's not like begging for Africans to come into America now. You know what I mean? Like, and then also I'm a white South African. No one in South Africa wants to hear what I have to say. I'm trying to figure out an angle that, like, as a white South African in China married to a Chinese person, that might be interesting, like to tour South Africa with. So this podcast I did yesterday, like the comedian who hosted is a friend of my brother's, and then I was on it. He started inboxing everyone. Oh, I'm talking to a comedian who lives in China. They're all starting to be like, oh, who is this guy? But it's like, I'm already 42. Like, this is too old to start comedy.
You think?
I'm just saying, like, I'm not in a comedy center. Even if you headline in Asia, there's 20 rooms in Asia. You'd have to first prove yourself. Famous people aren't booking all these rooms. So for me to make a living as a comedian in Asia is almost impossible. Because your first year, you're going to have to do every room out of pocket. Then you have to kill hard enough for them to want you back. And you might go back opening for someone. So you're looking at 3 or 4 years before you even go there on your own steam. And even as a headliner, it's not that much money. You're not going to get what an American famous person gets. So I'm better off just putting on the tours. So I don't see any point in trying to be a famous comic if I'm going to be based in China, unless my wife wants to leave. But then where do we go? So I don't know, like, I'm not that excited about performing comedy. I just like met quite a few of my heroes, and I get to tour the country, so that's enough for me. I forget what the question was.
Never mind. Okay, so how's your family back in South Africa? How's the situation there?
They're good. I posted a thing on Facebook that said, I'm thinking of quitting sugar, but now that I'm not locked in my house, like, I don't see the point if I can't brag about it, because everyone's like on lockdown shit. So it was just a dumb post about where's the motivation if you're not locked in your house. And then my mother's half-sister wrote, "Hi Ian, my daughter died trying to get hold of your mother." Underneath, like, the dumbest post. So I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. But I called my mom, and she was like, oh, that she was sick already. It wasn't COVID. But I was like, well, that'd be a fun way to find out. Like, making lockdown jokes, and then she says her daughter died. Apparently she was already sick. My parents are fine. They're like in their mid-70s. My mother will hate me for saying that. I suppose it should be 70 something. Less than 75. Yeah, they're at home. They just sold their house, and well, they were trying to. So it was it's a bit shitty because someone made an offer on the house for the land, like a big building project,
Mm-hmm.
and then the deal's on hold. So I'm kind of grateful because that's the house I grew up in, and I was going to go home in July. The sale was supposed to be done in July, and I was going to go home and pack all my childhood shit. And I was kind of upset that I couldn't go home and help them move, because it's like it would suck to never see my house again.
No.
And now that this COVID thing happened, the sale's been pushed back. So hopefully by the time the sale goes through, I can fly back home to like, help them pack and move. But yeah, hopefully also flights will be cheap
Oh yeah.
by the time they open up again.
That time I don't know.
But our airlines, South African Airways, have been bankrupt and bailed out by the government like for like the last 20 years, and this killed it. So South African Airways is done. It's fucking over. And yeah, the last time I flew home was on SAA. I don't know how I'm going to get home this time, but yeah, so this disease killed the airline, which was good because we kept pouring money into it and it didn't work. Yeah, that's about my parents. My brother just broke his hand, so he had to go to hospital. And 2 hospitals. It's like the hospital staff had outbreaks and they closed the hospitals.
Oh.
It's like, you're not a very good hospital, bro. Like, people are getting sick. Close it. Am I wrong? You're a hospital. How do you close a hospital because people got sick in it? That was a private hospital. So I don't know. Tell me government healthcare is worse. I don't know. 9 nurses got COVID and they closed the hospital.
Where did your brother go for the hand?
Semi-private hospital, I think.
Okay.
But he had to get tested for the thing first and wait. The government hospitals in South Africa... See, South Africa, testing-wise, have been really good. I think we had like... I don't know the latest numbers, but it's like 200 deaths. And I think around 7,000 people had got it. Might be less than that. But the testing's crazy because everyone in South Africa, like tuberculosis is a massive problem.
Oh, okay.
So respiratory diseases and respiratory treatments in South Africa we got like mobile like testing facilities. So actually, infrastructure wise, we were very lucky to have AIDS and TB, and because it's like for preparedness sake, we actually have the medical facilities for that. But the people are kind of annoyed. The government locked everyone down. Now it's like the second 30 days. They made these weird rules. Can't go running, can't do this, can't do that. Which is bizarre. But the population is very unequal. So there's like the old rich, I wouldn't say white, but mostly white, but like the upper middle class, and then really, really poor. And the really poor people live in like favelas in Brazil, like shacks and townships. So there's not a lot of sanitation or division of people. So they couldn't really give a certain set of rules to the rich people and a certain set of rules to the other. So they just put the lockdown in place on everyone and sent the army into the areas where they couldn't lock people in. So it looks pretty nasty, like in terms of authoritarianism. They've got like military on the streets enforcing lockdowns. And then the poor are really screwed. And then the rich are complaining that they can't walk their dogs. It's very insensitive. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really shone a light on how divided the country is in terms of wealth. And then now they've got these rules that, like, if you're rich and you want to donate money, you're not allowed to. It's all got to go through these government programs. They banned alcohol and cigarettes. But there's like this huge black market cigarette industry. And the health minister is like in bed with the black market cigarette industry people. So like, just let people smoke.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously it's a respiratory disease,
Mhm.
so they don't want to let people smoke.
Oh, I see.
And then also the violence in South Africa is like super crazy high.
Mm-hmm.
So locking everyone at home
Mm.
has actually reduced our death rate.
Okay.
This is like saving lives.
Mhm.
And I have a theory that the government is looking at the crime numbers
Mm.
and they're so happy about that
Mhm.
because they just haven't been able to solve this problem.
Mhm.
Just like this massive crime.
Mhm.
Like in South Africa, the unemployment rate is 40% and the rape rate is 46%.
Wow.
So you're more likely to get raped than you are to have a job.
Mm.
Like the numbers are crazy. So having everyone locked
Mm.
inside is like provided this relief.
Mm.
And I think they're trying to get people off their addictions
Mm.
by banning alcohol and cigarettes.
Mhm.
But they've never had a pandemic.
Oh.
HIV was a massive problem
Mm.
in Africa. It was like up to 10% of the population had it. But it wasn't spread by the air. So you could control, like hand out condoms and educate people and do all this sort of stuff. But most countries don't know how to deal with this.
Mhm.
Like they have a theory,
Mm.
but you never dealt with a pandemic.
Mm.
How do you do it? Seems China has.
Mm.
With SARS. And they were like, China's pretty practical about things.
Mm.
So like, that's never happening again.
Mm.
And then they can do things like just shut a province down. Can't do that in South Africa.
Mm.
Because South Africa had apartheid, which was
Oh, yeah.
literally restricting the movement of certain populations.
Mm.
When that ended, it was like, never again.
Yeah.
There will never be a day where the government tells you you cannot go somewhere. And now that day's come, and nobody likes the idea of it, naturally.
Mm.
You're like, you can't. So, unfortunately, it's like, well, you have to.
Mhm.
And it looks really weird to see an African parliament or an African government, black government, imposing the rules that white people used to impose.
Oh.
They're not the same thing, obviously,
Yeah.
but in a picture it looks the same.
Mhm.
It's the same police uniform, just a different dude pointing a gun at the same population. It's very weird to look at, and people aren't happy about it. This is a cheerful podcast.
Mhm. Do the poor people get any financial aid?
Yeah, it's a big problem in South Africa because they've been trying to rectify the injustice of the past, and there's like a massive African middle class, rising middle upper class, but the British, I don't want to say British, but like there's a colonial white class, and then there's the Afrikaner class.
Mm.
They're not a class, but Afrikaner people. They're more farmers. They were the old civil servants that used to work in government. It seems to me that those people are, like the white population that is poor affects the Afrikaans people more.
Mm.
So they are like poor, like there's like a poor class, white and black and other races. Those people, there's a thing called black economic empowerment.
Mm.
And what that means is if your board of directors needs to be 50% owned, and then you get all these benefits from the government if there's representation in your companies.
Mm.
But what happens is a lot of companies just hire token black people, stay white, but they put like our president, Cyril Ramaphosa, dude's a billionaire.
Mm.
He's on every board of every company. So they put him on, like he fulfills the requirement, and then the company's just, but they get instant rich. So now when the government's doing these bailouts, they're leaning towards people with black economic empowerment representation in their ownership. So it doesn't matter how many black people you employ if you're a white small business. They don't exclude, but they favor the BEE companies. And there's an outrage now that it's like racist, that white people aren't getting any relief. And I don't know what extent that's true, because all I've seen is Facebook posts about it and the occasional fact check. Like, no, it's not true. But then my friends that are business owners are like, it's not true, but when you actually go down and apply, you're not getting preferential treatment. It's like, okay, take the form. Oh, you didn't fill that in, take it back. Well, you know, it's like dragging their feet a bit. So it's sad that it's not equal for everyone. But I live here, so I don't know. Like, I've had so much distance from South Africa that I can see the holes where it hasn't corrected, and it freaks me out. Like, I don't understand why they haven't addressed these problems. So when I was home 5 years ago to get a new passport, it was bizarre to me. Like I didn't see it before. So I'd been here for 10 years. And then like, it took me 10 years of not being in South Africa to actually see how divided it was. Like, not divided, but like different. Like the levels were. Every time we win the World Cup rugby or Miss Universe pageant or, you know, like World Cup rugby, we win it a lot. Fuck England. Like the country's all united, and we had the World Cup soccer there. Yeah, everyone bands together, but it's fleeting. You know, like after a while, it just you go back. You know, World Cup's over, and you go back to your thing, and it's like, what happened? You know, so I don't know. This will, like my friend made that point, is that South Africa's never had everybody go through the same thing before. So like when we win the World Cup, rugby's not a massively huge sport. Everyone rallies around the fact that, okay, we won the rugby, but it's not like no one gives a shit about rugby that much. Or we're really good at cricket. Most of our population likes soccer, and we're never going to be the best at that. So we'll never really celebrate that together. This pandemic is like the most equal society's been.
But it reveals more problems.
Yeah, but everyone understands, because you know, like when you look at people that have a baseline, that's why a poor person can watch the Kardashians and give a shit, because they see things according to the baseline. So it's like, if we both drop equally, there's no difference. But if I watch you fall that much, it's like, oh, your poodle fell out of your handbag and broke its claw. That's your worst day if you're Kim Kardashian. The woman watching the Kardashians on TV might not even have a house. Like, I actually met a girl who was like being pimped. She was like a prostitute in China, like African girl. She was talking about the Paris Hilton sisters. And I was like, how do you give a shit? Given what you have to live through. And she's like, it's my escape. But she's watching a multi-millionaire kid have a bad day because, you know, someone dyed her hair the wrong color. I'm like, how do you know, like, we relate to people's differences in their baseline reality. So it's like, if this is normal for you and then this happens, my compassion kicks in. I don't give a shit. I just go, oh, you used to that and you're over here now. So when everybody drops, it's like we don't really notice. So in South Africa now, everyone's going through the same thing, and they've all dropped around the same issue. So even though it's much worse for poor people than it is for rich people, they're all experiencing, it's not one group looking at the other. It's like, oh, we're all going through this together. And then that drop is what unifies you. It's not like, oh, the townships had an earthquake and we have to send them money. It's like, I don't even have time to help because I'm also fucked. So there's something unifying about that we're all going through it. Everybody knows what a lockdown feels like now. So Doesn't matter if you're Chinese, if you're Dutch, you know, except for Sweden. You know, everyone's talking about like how like people who agree with lockdowns are in love with the people who are keeping them hostage. So it's they say you have Stockholm syndrome.
Exactly.
You see that hashtag everywhere, and it makes no sense. Because Sweden is not keeping people hostage.
Yeah.
They're like the one country who's not doing it. And we still call it Stockholm syndrome. Why not just, we have to change the word. Because Sweden, Stockholm is like, you can go out. And we're going, we got, it's like, yeah, okay. The word needs to change. It's the one country that's not doing it. Makes no sense.
So apart from this syndrome thing, any other particular thought you have during this time? About anything?
No, I don't have any thoughts. I don't think it's real. I don't know anyone who's died from it. I know one person whose husband got it. And not in China. And he's fine now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
but
it's like,
how much, how much like we're affected? That's the thing.
Not affected at all. I mean, other than
like in terms of work.
Other than work.
Yeah.
But it's still something that I don't. Shanghai's had 7 deaths.
Yeah, Shanghai's doing pretty good.
And then like 2 of those people were like fat and sick. So, you know, what is my opinion really worth? It's interesting to see, like, I'm interested in what happened to, like, populations' reactions. And you can see, like, how mature each population is. So it seems to me like the extreme situation Hubei province was in, because they literally just got locked in, and the reactions seem normal, that's the reaction you would expect from people. But everywhere else in Shanghai, it's like, all right, stay away from me. You know, like we just, like it was the first time I was in a mall and like a Family Mart, and I could actually see people visibly standing back while I was getting something. No one pushed in front, like, oh, I'm in a hurry. I was on the subway a few times. I went out for walks. So, like, I just saw a very mature, empty Shanghai, like, just do what you do. Like, oh, you get the paper? Is that what I do? Okay. You need the app? Okay, you know. And when I look at America, people flipping out. South Africa, people are flipping out because someone suggested that maybe staying away from each other is... But I get it. Like, businesses get shut down. Like, people are losing money. But I don't know why people can't accept reality. Because even if you say, okay, I don't agree with this lockdown, I don't agree with businesses closing, I'm going to open my business. You can't force people to come to your business. So if they all say, you know what, I'm not going out, you should be just like, okay, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay away from people. You should be allowed to open your business 24 hours and then only let one customer in at a time.
You're losing money anyway.
But like when people sort of flipped out, it's like, well, you need to calm down and look at it realistically. Like, sure, open, but you can't expect people to come. Like, so your business, like if you work it out, I don't know, like if you close down for a month and then have everyone come back, or if you stay open and it takes years and you still get business every day. No one can predict that. It seems like China fixed it. And it blows my mind that I actually have friends who are like, you're talking shit, China's lying, and I'm like, I'm literally out every day. So I don't know what you think you're talking about, but like I'm talking to people every day. So there's a dude with like his teeth are white. I don't know, like I used to see him and he had his mask on, and when I see him now it's like he hasn't smoked or something. But so yeah, I'm sad that people are losing money, but like I don't know, just grow up.
Yeah.
Would you take that chance? Herd immunity?
What?
When they say, oh, let's just open everything up and we'll build herd immunity.
That's... I don't think we can afford to do that.
No, but would you take the chance?
No.
Because it's easy to make those calls from a macro level. But you can't actually know for sure that it's going to work. And then who's going to take the bullet?
Exactly.
So I don't know.
Did you write any COVID-19 related jokes?
No, just the joke about finding out that I had bad breath because I was wearing a mask. And that is true because I couldn't go to my dentist. And I had a horrible joke about... No, that wasn't about COVID. That was about the Australian fires.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the pandemic did end anyone's interest in the fires. And yeah, the other one was just about my wife wanting to start a vlog.
Oh, she wants to start a vlog on?
Well, because everybody was stuck at home.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what do we do with our time? And they were like, oh, we're going to do this. And the only joke I wrote about that was, I like the idea of her being on the internet because then I don't have to say what's wrong with her. Because the internet will tell you very quickly, like, yeah, what is up with your eyes or your nose, or she keeps making that noise with her mouth. And then I could see the comments say, these guys suck. Fuck these people. But even secretly, I'll agree with them. But I don't have to be the one who says it. I'll just be like, if you want your hits to go up, you got to stop doing that. And then I could say, hey, let's practice off camera, so that when you're on camera, it seems natural, you know. So, yeah, I don't find it funny yet, because I don't think it's real. This isn't COVID-19 isn't a thing.
What's the first thing you like to do when it's all over?
It's already all over. Stand-up
100%,
comedy. That's
100%.
pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing. I'd like to go home to South Africa.
Okay.
So I don't know what all over means.
Means like it's
In the
gone
world?
in the world.
Yeah, I'd go see my parents. But like I was going to go in July, and we were supposed to get, because we got legally married, and then we were supposed to get like officially married, and we were going to go to South Africa to do it. With, it's not for me. I give a shit. Like marriage is a woman's problem. So my wife wanted to go with her friends, and we we're going to go do a thing. But all my friends are around the world. So the plan was to, when my parents said they were going to sell the house, to go home in July and help them move, and then decide what I want to keep. I can put it in storage there. So I just want to go home. Because I was going to go in July, which is winter there anyway. So it wouldn't have been fun. So yeah, that's about as interesting a thing to do afterwards as I can think of.
Cool. All right. All right. Thank you guys. That'll be all for today. Yeah. Stay safe.
Thank you, Internet.